Item number F is Kristle KLR and Robert G. Clover irrigation facility with underground tanks in an RRB zoning district. You will hear please introduce
Yes.
Just make sure you state the name of the actor.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristle KLR, and I'm the owner of 18 acres at 16405 State Highway 13, which is directly connected to my father's land. I'm the founder of Kristle KLR Artesian Water and the applicant for a conditional use permit on my land. I have listened very carefully to everything that has been said regarding my application and everything that has been posted online. I am very sensitive to all the questions and concerns that have been raised regarding my application. I will be addressing all of these concerns with my engineering firm, the University of Minnesota, and any other experts who may be necessary to address all of the questions everyone has. I regret submitting my application with all the detail that you are seeking, but will submit everything in a timely fashion for everyone to consider prior to making a decision at the next meeting. I'm working to get on the agenda for May 20th for the county, and I am respectfully requesting that the board table this until we can hear everything in full and make recommendations at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristle. Is there a representative of the Red Cliff tribe that's in attendance?
Yes, this is Linda.
Thank you.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
I should note that I am not an attorney for the tribe. I am the environmental director for the Red Cliff Treaty Natural Resources Division. And we would like to respectfully submit the following comments regarding this application. For the proposed project to extract water from an artesian well in Bayfield, Wisconsin, near the Bayfield and the shores of Ditch. The proposed project is within the 1822 ceded territory and would impact Applicant, which is land, and the bank, which is water, ceded by our people in the 1842 Treaty of La Pointe. Red Cliff has retained and exercised stewardship responsibilities of our relatives, which others might call non-legal, along the ceded territory upon which meaningful exercise of treaty rights is based upon. The Red Cliff KLR has reviewed the documents made available to us and has several questions regarding the proposed project. We have the following questions and comments to better assess the potential impact of the proposed project. 1. Where is the artesian source located on the property? The map provided in the application does not indicate an exact location of where the water will be taken from. 2. What is the current volume of the artesian flow? 3. What are the anticipated volumes to be removed? How frequent will the removal occur? 4. Is current artesian flow feeding the creek, and if so, what percentage of creek discharge is discharge even? Input, and if artesian is captured, what will that do to the creek flow? 5. Is the artesian well that water will be removed from currently direct discharge from groundwater, or has it been plumbed in the past? Are there plans funded to capture for transfer to tankers? What is the planned access point for the tankers? 6. Where does the creek flow into? The drawing map included in the application indicates the creek stops at the house, but satellite images indicate the creek likely connects to the Bark Bay food system. 7. How will the removal of the water impact Bark Bay food? Bark Bay food is Wisconsin state area of the Wisconsin jurisdiction. The Bark Bay is a habitat that is classified as one of the Wisconsin wetland zones by the Wisconsin Wetlands Association. 8. Does the creek have a fisheries community with special designation that would be impacted by the location? 9. After the water has been bottled in Superior, Wisconsin, where will it be distributed to? not trigger Army Corps of Engineers involvement underwater living west. 11. Although the county planning will evaluate the cumulative impact of water extraction from on-top utilities and irrigation to better assess potential impact of the proposed project. Applicant indicates the proposed structure is irrigation facility. What does the proposed project constitute an irrigation facility? The county Title 13 zoning code does not provide a definition of irrigation or irrigation facility. The well-being of the rest of the community is dependent on our ability to practice our traditional ways of obtain rights. Includes this area are homes to swimmers, college, flyers, medicines, and food. Wetlands provide a critical role in our ecosystem and are thought of as Gittiganing, gardens, and medicine cabinets. In Ojibwe Moan, or Ojibwe language, Washiki, which is bog, Wabashiki, which is swamp, and Mashiki, which means medicine, are all connected. It is this because of the connectedness between the wetland ecosystem and the traditional activities of Ojibwe in these spaces. Wetlands are places where medicines grow and are harvested. To this day, wetlands are a place where Ojibwe go to practice and exercise their treaty rights. The application does not provide sufficient information to adequately assess potential environmental and cultural impacts from the proposed project. To the best of our knowledge, if permitted, this would be the first water modeling project in Bayfield County. This has the potential to set a dangerous precedent, allowing the withdrawal of near-based water from our homes, non-native and native alike. The withdrawal of water from our watershed without sufficient analysis can lead to detrimental consequences within the watershed and neighboring environment. Precedent setting decision of such magnitude requires rigorous environmental and cultural analysis to issue any approval. Additionally, this application indicates a lack of cultural understanding on behalf of the applicant. Water is a greater substance to us, a relative that brings life and medicine. To allow for the modification of water is to allow the rest of our use forward. When asked about this application, Ed Cliff, Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, declared that guiding principle is that we are protectors. Our universal truth is that we are protectors of water. Protect water coming out of the ground and Lake Superior. That water can have deep walls and part of Lake Superior. Water is culture resource that should be held. First, we feel planning and zoning committee. United application is the lack of information in the application, lack of environmental impact analysis, and lack of cultural understanding. Additional information is necessary before the Town Plan Commission and County Planning and Zoning Committee is able to make an informed decision on the environment.
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6.
A key and air of our current and ancestral homeland for our people and the generations to come. And preserving the environment means preserving our treaty rights and our traditional ways. Be rich and thinking.
Yes, I appreciate your time today. I am here representing adjacent landowners, and I am also a landowner that has property of this same aquifer with a flowing artesian well in that property, so personally and professionally invested in it. I'd like to speak out in strong representing adjoining landowners in attorney capacity, and I'm also a landowner in the Town of Clover, and have property in the Town of Clover that also has a flowing artesian well that shares the same aquifer. That property has been in my family since 1936. And that's one of the most important parts of my upbringing, and one of the most important parts of this northern Wisconsin area in Bayfield County that we have. The county has stated that their emphasis, the important part of what we're trying to protect in this county is our natural resources. Permits to withdraw and to truck this water out of the aquifer. But not even getting into the political and all their thoughts and feelings on this, there are several legal reasons why this application should be denied. First and foremost, as Linda from the tribe pointed out, there is no permitted use for this type of bottling facility in the zoning district that it is. It was indicated on the application that this is some sort of irrigation facility. There's no definition of irrigation facility in the zoning code, but any other definition that you find elsewhere of irrigation always contemplates the application of water to roots or plants or land. That's found, as I submitted in a brief to the committee, that's found in Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources regulation, the Department of Agricultural Trade and Consumer Protection. All of those definitions of irrigation consist of applying water to land. Now here there is a lot of irrigation and there's a lot of agricultural uses that water can go towards in northern Bayfield County, but this type of bottled water facility is simply not one of them that should be permitted. I say that it more closely resembles a component of a bottling establishment or a bottling plant, which is expressly not permitted in this zoning code in Bayfield County, in the F1 zone, in this zone. So for that reason as well, this should be denied. In addition, as the Director Sherman pointed out, this property owner is apparently in violation of several other aspects of the Bayfield County zoning ordinances, and no permit can be issued to an applicant who's in violation of those ordinances. Regarding the consideration of the town board, last night the Town of Clover town board unanimously rejected this application and denied this application. Now, the applicant did not submit the pink sheet with the town board recommendation as they were required to do in their application. But I can tell you that the local town board is also not in favor of this project. And I think most important here, just the application is completely devoid of any consideration of the economic impacts of, or the environmental impacts of this. And the applicant has shown an unwillingness to come forward with this information in a timely fashion so that information can be obtained and the county can protect those natural resources that it's entrusted to protect. So on behalf of neighboring landowners, as well as myself as a neighboring landowner, we strongly urge the committee to deny this conditional use application.
All right, anything else, Max?
My name is Patty Carpenter, and I live in Herbster. And I am concerned, and my husband is concerned, about Kristle KLR's proposal to capture, truck, and sell a shared resource from our watershed in the Great Lakes Basin. Because we've already heard a lot about some of the environmental issues with this proposal, I'm going to skip that part of my letter and go straight to some of my other concerns. First and foremost, the Town of Clover is ceded territory. Was any concerns from Lake Superior, Chippewa of removing and selling water, has that been addressed? Were they even consulted? That concerns me right away. Further, we never had the opportunity at our town plan commission meeting to express that this does not fit within our Town of Clover comprehensive plan. A few hours before the meeting was scheduled, this was pulled from the agenda by the applicant. Kristle KLR is not compatible with Section 8.4 of our Town of Clover comprehensive plan. Rather than providing jobs or a service for our community, they propose removing a shared resource for personal profit. Some other things that I've done some research on this week to shed light on why the proposal is incomplete and concerns us as landowners in Herbster and as community members is that she states in the proposal, Kristle KLR is working with MSA. MSA finally, somebody got the document added to the proposal finally just a few days ago and it shows that there was a 2018 artesian use feasibility assessment. It stated very clearly that this location was not recommended to be used as a commercial bottling source due to the unknown capacity of the formation supplying the artesian condition. The installation of a free-flowing well could significantly impact flow rates down gradient of the well. That's what they said. If she installs a new well, it could mess up the wells around it unless we study it. However, in 2019, still Kristle KLR installed a new well. They did find artesian conditions, and now in the new well report that was just added yesterday, MSA stated the existing on-site well is not properly constructed to the Wisconsin Administrative Code and could pose a limited potential threat to the water quality if contaminants are introduced through the ungrouted well annulus. So my question also is, has Kristle KLR already put our water quality at risk and our water flow rates at risk? Finally, something that came out with that well report that was also released yesterday, the 2019 new artesian well, was that there was a new name that we had not seen in any of the proposed materials. This gentleman's name is Mr. Setnu Jenkins of Kristle KLR LLC. Kristle KLR, KLEAR LLC, parentheses, the client. A simple online search shows Kristle KLR LLC has the Duluth address of the applicant. It also shows on April 7th, 2020, they registered internationally to get an NCAGE, NCAGE, which is apparently to be able to sell water to international governments. So my question is, why would Kristle KLR LLC need to register for an NCAGE? We ask you to protect the safety of our community and environment and oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Is there any other Jason Landon for this time who'd like to speak?
So anyway, I'll keep it brief, but you got my drift. And please, the committee, address this issue, deal with it. Let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Anybody else in opposition? Please state your name. Can you pull your mask off so you can hear state your name?
I'll talk loud, thank you. Dana Chernus, 86495 Lenawee Road. I've lived in Town of Clover for 15 years. I'm going to yield my time to Sandy Goki.
All right, thank you.
Bujunden we magnaduk, when a pishtabe indigo, Mako and Dudem, we quayong and Dunjaba, we quaydong and Donongom, Niwa Wagnani Jonasuk. I just introduced myself. I'm Sandy Goki. I'm from Red Cliff. I live in Ashland now. And I have 4 kids. And each one of those 4 kids was grown inside of water. Just as I was, just as each and every one of us were. That's where we come from, and that's who we are. And when we're brought into these communities, I love that point that he just made, that when we take things, we need to give something back. That's our notion of reciprocity and respect. And when we respect the beings who give us life, they continue to do so. And they will continue to, even if we disrespect them. But down the line, it kind of snowballs into something really ugly. And I agree, I have not seen anything in any of her documents that would give back to our community. We ceded millions of acres of land. And in that session, we retained the right to hunt, fish, gather, and the privileges of usual occupancy. And within those privileges of usual occupancy is the right to live a healthy life, is the right to have healthy kids in perpetuity, forever. And we're willing to share these resources with everybody. You know, that's part of what the land session was about, was living with one another. We all have something to contribute to our communities. We all have gifts that we have, and we have a responsibility to give those gifts to each other. And when we take and we take and we take and don't give anything back, that's what we call a Wendigo. Wendigo just is ever hungry, never satisfied. And that's what I see being born, is a Wendigo. It'll start as something small, a small trickle. But just as we see with that water carving out mountains, valleys, it turns into something bigger. And I urge you guys to oppose this, to uphold federal trust responsibilities, your own responsibilities as people living in ceded territory. We've upheld our end. We've allowed you to be here. We've made families with you. You know, we've had kids. We've become a family. And families shouldn't take advantage of one another. And if you can't play by the family rules, you need to get out. We have an epidemic of murdered and missing Indigenous women. And as women, it's our responsibility to care for the water, to be stewards to that water. And as a woman, I am far more likely to be kidnapped, to be murdered as an Indigenous woman. And that's how I see what is happening with this water. They are kidnapping her. They are confining her to a bottle, and then they are selling her. This is an epidemic, not only with human beings, but with our water too. No more stolen sisters. Miigwech, Bizendoyeg, Mio.
The lack of information we have about the impacts of this project and how these water withdrawals will affect the water table or the adjacent wetlands and also connected surface waters. We can't anticipate the impacts of the precedent that this kind of a project might set. And I was not aware of additional applications or movement toward reselling and growing to a larger entity, but we can't anticipate that, especially if it's not been transparent at the get-go. And that is a real concern because, as Sandy had said, it starts with a trickle, but we don't know where it will go. So while I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit, I also want to say, and on behalf of also our chapter, our water is not for sale, especially to be removed and taken outside of our watershed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Can you hear me through this okay?
Very good.
All right. Tom Glazin from checking in from the town of Bayfield. I think this would be a bad precedent for us to go ahead with permitting this application. It may, so to speak, open the floodgates for more applications, for one thing. And the application itself has some questions and concerns, as were pointed out by a number of people. And I agree with all those, and they're probably dominant concerns. Another thing that really bothers me is one way or another, when the water leaves and goes to a packaging facility, it's going to be in plastic. And you may be all familiar with the problems with the study in Lake Superior. They looked at, 40 different national parks, and there were high concentrations of plastics out here. We don't need any more chemicals. And, if people need water someplace, I think we ought to clean up the sources of water around them and not allow, extensive pollution to happen there to compromise people's water. If this is a extravagant sort of thing for people that like the idea of drinking Lake Superior water and stuff, well, maybe they can come up and have a little sip themselves sometimes, but I don't think we should ship it out. It's a bad precedent. It could lead to more applications of this sort. And I think the water belongs to all the people here. I don't think it's appropriate for a so-called landowner to appropriate that water and package it plastic and ship it around. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, good. I could take this off my ears here. Good. Thank you for having this meeting. Well, I want to start off with my name, Marvin Defoe, Red Cliff. I got elder, resident, I'm on our tribal council. You asked earlier, is there any attorneys come up and speak? I am an attorney. I'm an attorney for creation. I'm an attorney for the water, for the trees, for the earth, for the air. And I'm here to represent those things, speak on their behalf. And what I want to tell you about is universal truth. Universal truth has no boundaries who you are as a human being. Doesn't matter if you have brown skin, purple skin, brown skin, or whatever. And when I'm talking about universal truth, I believe those who live here in Bayfield County, those who live here in Red Cliff, in this community, understands what universal truth is to protect the water, protect our home, to have a voice and to stand up for those trying to take advantage of our community. And I'm not just talking Red Cliff community. I'm talking all our communities here. We have a challenge. You have a challenge before you. The decision you make is going to affect 7 generations down the road. The previous speakers, they all talked. And they're telling the truth. They're telling the universal truth of what all of us here, living here, have to make a decision on. It's crucial that the decision that is made today, again, I'm going to say it again, is going to have a long-lasting effect of all of us living in this community. Selling our water. I heard that the Chinese would like to buy this Lake Superior water too. I heard that those places would like it too, but it's our job to protect that water, even though it's an artesian. It has a direct connection to Lake Superior and where we all live. So, as you can hear, I'm in support of universal truth. I'm in support of those living in this community will make the right decision on this issue and say go in, say no, we draw the line. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mark. We'll listen to 2 more, please.
I'm Beverly Steele, the town chair of the Town of Clover, and I am also here as my own self. For me, one of the big concerns is that this is 2 properties. They are currently relatives. I don't know what's going to happen when the 2 properties, one of them might get sold. The well is on one, the tanks are on the other. Since I've been chairperson, we've had to deal with properties that were 3 properties owned by one person. Decisions were made because this was owned by one person. Since that time, the properties have been sold independently, and now we're having to live with the consequences, which is not fun. Having to tell people, you don't have a bathroom, you got to put a bathroom in. I don't know what's going to happen down the line if we approve this thing and one of the parties sells, or part of it gets sold and the other part doesn't. It just bothers me from an administrative point of view how that'll be dealt with. The one property does have 2 wells on it. They're talking about the little well being the one they're going to use. There's a very big well up above. There was some question where the water goes. The overflow water from the little well currently goes down a stream on the west side of the house, under Highway 13 through a culvert, into a stream that goes down to Nicoletti Road, makes a 90-degree angle, turns and goes down a big ditch along the road, and then into Horseshoe Creek culvert there and into the marsh. The big one goes down on the other side of the house into a separate culvert under Highway 13, into a stream, down that same 90-degree angle, and under Horseshoe Creek into the marsh. That's how that water works at this moment. I urge you to not approve this proposal.
My name is Max Carl. I'm a resident of the town of Bayfield, 85800 Gotchling Road in Bayfield. I just urge the county to reject this request. Thank you.
We'll go on to item number F, Kristle M, Robert G. Clover, irrigation facility with underground tanks in an RRB zoning district.
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
I am prepared to make a motion on this issue.
Okay, go ahead.
Seeing as how the engineering report goes back to 2018, I think the applicant has had sufficient time to present information to the community. I would make a motion to deny the application based on, one, the zoning ordinance and all other applicable laws. Number two, the consistency or lack of consistency with the town comp plan. And I wanted to, I got a little bit lengthy stuff, but I want to get it in here. The town comp plan, goal number 6, talks about restoring and protecting the shorelines of Lake Superior, Bark Bay Slough, the Bark and Cranberry Rivers and their tributaries in the town of Clover. Objectives are to prevent or limit developments in sensitive environmental areas such as wetlands, water drainage areas, and filtering areas, and they support efforts to protect and improve wetlands and surface areas. Goal number 7 is to maintain the scenic and aesthetic beauty of the town of Clover. They ask to identify and clearly designate wetlands, scenic open spaces, prime forest areas, and historic sites, and develop plans to preserve them. Next, the consideration of the town board, who denied it, whose chairman came and spoke out against it. Number 4 is the consistency with the county comp plan. And I just wanted, there's many quotes from there, but I just wanted to touch on 2, which is to conserve, protect, manage, and enhance the county's natural resources, including but not limited to lakes, rivers, streams, wetlands, groundwater, forest lands, and other wildlife habitats in order to provide the highest quality of life for citizens and visitors. And also from the county comprehensive plan, ensure that land use and development is compatible and harmonious with the natural environment. Next, I would go to relevant public input, number 5. Rob, approximately how many emails have we gotten in opposition to this?
64 letters of opposition, no indication of support.
I would like to cite that many of the emails were quite articulate and had a lot of data in them. I wanted to read from the Red Cliff response. I feel that their input is critical here. Their environmental director read this, but I wanted to highlight that wetlands are places where medicines grow and are harvested. To this day, wetlands are a place where Ojibwe go to exercise our treaty rights. Additionally, the submission of this application indicates a lack of cultural understanding on behalf of the applicant. Water is sacred to us, a relative that brings life and medicine, and to allow for the commodification of water is to allow the theft of our sacred relative. Water is a cultural resource, shouldn't be sold. And preserving the environment means preserving our treaty rights and our traditional life ways. I wanted to get that in as public input. Consideration of, number 6 is a consideration of the department files and report site specifics. On April 12th, there was a document received from the applicant outlining a study done in 2018 from NSA. I just would like to read a few lines from there. It says the location of the artesian condition appears to be a shallow location. Based on the described construction of the discharge pipe on the site, MSA does not recommend it be used as a commercial bottled water source. And also, it says, please note that due to the unknown capacity of the formation supplying the artesian condition, the installation of a free-flowing well could significantly impact flow rates, downgrading into the well, and additional monitoring of downgrading sources may be necessary during the investigation of the site itself. So just merely trying to get answers to the aquifer could destroy it in itself. This is from their engineering company. Number 8 is the community, the general welfare and economic impacts, or in this case, the lack thereof. This extracted resource will be brought elsewhere. I do not see any jobs to the community. It is not complementary to other residents, adjacent people, landowners. And I just see no benefit to the community. Number 11, the existing topographic features, drainage features, and vegetative cover show explicit wetlands in the map and a stream on the property. Number 14 is the location of the site with respect to existing or future access roads, which ties into number 11, which is the topographic and wetland features. There may be a need an access road to this property up maybe 500 or 600 feet up to the well. There'd have to be a road constructed that was able to carry large tanker trucks, and this has not been considered. Number 17 is the potential impact, the site impact of the proposed use of other lands and lands uses in the vicinity and the extent to which it would be compatible or incompatible. I would make 2 quick quotes. One is from the MSA project, which stated in a conversation with Mr. Blau that the pond had existed prior to the installation of the well and was apparently spring-fed based on visible upwelling of the pond, which were reduced after the installation of the discharge pipe. So there is evidence that drawing from this well would create problems for adjacent landowners and downstream and be incompatible. Also, Claire Hintz is a nearby landowner that runs a farm. She says, last year I lost thousands of dollars worth of crop production because of the drought. I can only imagine how much worse that would be if my lands had less groundwater. She says the applicant fails to recognize that surface water on her private property is not confined to her property. It's part of a huge interconnected system where actions in one area affect the whole watershed. And that I conclude my motion to deny the permit to Kristle KLR.
Okay, motion by Jeff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Charlie Gallagher and down there.
I have copies of some of the things.
You probably have to help with it.
You need them.
So the motion by Jeff and the second by Charlie to deny the application for Kristle M. Robert Gal Clover, immigration facility with underground tank in RRB zoning district. Is there any more discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.